Hello, people. It's Wednesday, 11th of November, 8th. Wait. That's how you can tell I just got up, to be honest. Okay. It's the 8th of November, 2023. Cheers. It's stiff today. The coffee, it's a little strong. Kind of good today, actually. What's going on, people? So, yeah, I did a bit of house and yard work yesterday. I sure did. Okay, so let me just get rolling here. So, yesterday, I want to read this. Someone who watches me and occasionally comments very he's good with words. I'm going to go ahead and say the name. Okay, I hope it's okay. This is in relation to the music that I just shared with you all. In relation, with regard to my neighbor's unexpected and shocking death. And I'm putting it like that because it was a shock to me. I'm still in recovery from it, okay? Mike Saba wrote, "Thank you, Mike. I hope you don't mind my sharing your name, but it's right here in the comments on my last video, yesterday's video. This is, you get it, Mike. He writes, "Thank you for sharing Gray Gaze a few days ago. It was deeply foreboding and unsettling to me as I heard it and now reflect on it. You really let your guard down here by expressing yourself with such honesty. Vulnerability and fragility. It feels like being on the precipice of a breakdown." Whoa. Boy, he hears it, he feels it. I don't need words to express what I'm feeling. I know that words are very powerful and people like to hear me speak. And I've watched a bunch of rap hip hop videos last night, actually, and really enjoyed it. The flow, when I recognize the beauty of language. But I know, because of my own experience with the music I make, that some of it is very, very powerful. And he hit the nail on the head. I captured in Gray Gaze a deep well of feelings, of reflecting on the tragic times, the tragic nature of humanity, how we are just so cruel to one another, and how things are hopeless. I'll just say it. I don't need to talk about false hope. I just try to live a good life and have good days. Thank you, Mike, for sharing your thoughts. I'm glad that you heard and felt the music. And let me just put it like this. There's a whole lot of that on here on Interlude. A lot of this music. I'll share this. I haven't shared this. And I actually thought to myself for the longest, this is really precious to me. I don't need to share this. I don't need to, but I will. In light of sharing what Mike said before I go on to showing some records, this is important to me. This is my platform, and I don't have magazine reviews to rely on. Recently, I sent a copy of Interlude to my 84 or 85-year-old cousin, Leroy. Some of you folks who watch me remember him from maybe a year or so ago. I'd have to look and see, was it last year or the year before? Probably the year before, when Leroy came through Omaha and ended up staying with me for a few days. This is all kind of really the aftermath of my younger brother's death. Hadn't seen him most of my adult years because he was in the penitentiary on 2 occasions. He's ex-con, stick-up guy who reformed. He met a good woman, was married for 50 years. His wife died last year. Never got to meet her, but talked to her on the phone. I could tell she was a lovely soul. Anyway, sent Leroy the CD, and he called to let me know he got it, which I said, cool, man, cool, enjoy it. Got a call the next day. My cousin Leroy, grown-ass man, in tears. And he just had to reach out to me and say how deeply touched the music on Interlude, it caught him. It was wonderful because he's listening to it in the background as he's talking to me on the phone, so I can hear the particular track, which I can't think of the title of it. It's number 3 or 4 on the disc. He's just bawling because he feels it. He said, bro, he said, your parents, how do you put it? He said, your parents knocked the ball out of the park with you. You know, like father, like son. He said, in so many words, he said, I'm just catching the waves of emotion and memories and feelings through this music. And what was touching to me and revelatory was the piece I heard in the background that he was listening to. It wasn't conscious, but as I heard him listening to it, was like, there it is. The piece reflects the dignity and love I received from my family throughout my life. It's in the music, the dignity that my grandparents in particular see. My grandparents, his family, were on that same side of the family. So we have this connection and memory. That's what I remember him, is when he was in town for short periods of time, that part of the family would get together. We love Leroy, but he felt it. And he was just knocked out, you know. These comments are very reassuring and affirming that I'm not crazy, that I know what I'm doing over here. So there's a couple of reviews of my music for you. The music news of the day, and someone, I don't know who this person is, but sure enough, they had to let me know. I already knew. I found out yesterday because it's my nature to be on top of this shit. Musician from Finland, Esa Kotilainen, has passed away. Ajatuslapsi. This is an album of his. I love this cover and I love this album. I was after this album for years. Never could find an original. Was so happy when in 2021, Svart Records, great label, reissued this. This is one of my favorite covers too. And this is a really good and unique album. Esa Kotilainen was a keyboardist, and to my understanding, is famous in many ways for being the first musician to bring a mini Moog to Finland, to own one. And this is really cool because it has the essence of that culture as much as I can understand it, but also this Eastern thing, like from India, you know, incorporates Indian scales, and it's real sparse and ambient and not kind of haunting. It's a wonderful album. I'm pulling another album that I have that he is on. I looked at the on Facebook. There were a bunch of posts about his passing, and it's obvious that he is well regarded in his part of the world, as well as in circles of musicians who know this music. He also played with Wigwam. I understand that he was not a band member so much, but he played. He's credited with being on this. Yes, he's credited with keyboards on this album by Wigwam, Nuclear Nightclub, another wonderful cover, as well as a very good album. Very good album. I have something else by him. Is it right here? I have to look it up. It's been moved, so it's down there. But I have more records that he plays on. He has a distinct style too. Again, oops. See, I just haven't even shaved or nothing. But rest in peace. Yes, I know his work, and a lot of his work I have not heard, but what I've heard is very good. So time to relax yesterday, and I played some music. And I played a record that I haven't played in at least 10 years. Because when I went to pull it to play it, the Blake sleeve was on it in the way that I originally put them. It's like I haven't played this record since I blaked my sleeves. Tangerine Dream soundtrack to the film Sorcerer. I have a lot of Tangerine Dream. So much so that a lot of times I take it for granted. Now, when I buy the new stuff, and I bought the box sets recently, I always listen. I do enjoy them. But, just like with Peter Gabriel, looking forward to the new album next month, but I don't play his records like I used to. I used to play them all the time. This was a delight. And I don't sound like Tangerine Dream in my mind. It's interesting what people hear in my music. I've been compared to Alan Parsons recently and Edgar Froese recently. And that's neat, that people hear this stuff in my music. It's, slivers of this stuff is probably there, but as far as direct influence on my thinking when I'm making that music, that ain't the case. And especially with these last two pieces, the inadvertent influences on those pieces, besides what I was feeling, was Lorraine and Slow Dive, okay? Just the atmosphere of their stuff to reveal the actual influence of those pieces. But I love Tangerine Dream. And this was like, oh yeah, this is good. So that was very enjoyable. I was in my tea section. So let me go in order here because I just grabbed some teas yesterday and went from one to the next because it was stuff I hadn't listened to. Spiritual Nature by Masahiko Togashi. Spiritual jazz. This is, I think, only partially successful in that it involves a lot of a Zen approach to the music, which involves a placid repetitiveness, okay? And the thing is, I understand how Masahiko Sato is on here. He's got the great musicians on here, as well as Sadao and Watanabe. So the deal is, just like the picture, it doesn't build. It just goes like this. So you either get drawn into it, or after a while it gets boring. I played the whole album, to make sure I was catching what was happening, and that's what's happening here. So this is quite good, but you have to surrender to it. Masahiko Togashi. Here's something that I bought used because you don't see these records, and I knew it was kind of clunky, but it's like it wasn't expensive, and it's sort of proggy, but it's also kind of nerdy prog too. European band Titanic. I forget what country they're from. Eagle Rock. I like, you know, this is So. This is an album that, because of what it is and the way that I collect, it's a keeper. But this is mediocre. There's parts of it musically that are pretty good. The words for me on this album are atrocious. You know, it's like teen level, and that's not a diss to teens. It's just how it is. You know, a lot of the music that I love from my teen years that has stood the test of time. This is not an example of it, but it's a keeper. So I listen to it. It's like, okay, why do I have this? You know, some of the music is good. The other thing from the T section that I played was right next to it, Tobacco. The guy who's from Black Moth Super Rainbow. Ultima to Massage. This sounds like, and I think he actually does record his music on lo-fi equipment and actual tape recorders. It sounds like it. If it's not an actual tape recorder that's losing the azimuth, you know, on old tapes, he recreates it perfectly. Everything sounds muffled and cheaply recorded. It's a double album, but I love this and found myself playing one side of it all the way through twice. Eruption. I think that's the one. And I can't make all the words, but he uses the word fuck a lot here. Motherfucking this, motherfucking that. And it keeps coming through. And I can't quite hear what he's singing about. Don't necessarily care. Musically and sonically, this is really cool. Tobacco. I have some Black Moth Super Rainbow as well. A couple more things I played. This at first was like, oh, wait a minute now. Then just like the Togashi, you have to like, okay, am I going to enter this room for a while or not? So I did. Autechre, Chiastic Slide, is that how you say it? Chiastic Slide? From the 90s. They have a complete sound of their own. This makes more sense now than when it did when I first heard it. But it can be jarring and unpleasant. You know, kind of like putting yourself, head in a meat grinder almost. But once I made the adjustment and went with it, I was like, this is cool stuff. Very unique. Autechre. Excuse me. The last thing I pulled, I think, no. Okay, let me go until I'm done. German musician, drummer for the band Grobschnitt, Eroc. This is his first solo album, came out in I think 1974. I haven't played this in a long time. It's a Green Brain. I was really pleasantly knocked out by this. I forgot how spacey and trippy this album is. This is the epitome of what they call krautrock. Primarily instrumental, somewhere in the region of Tangerine Dream, actually. And Noi. This is really cool. Much better than I remembered. Eroc. His first solo album. It was real good. For the record, I'm still playing this song every day like I'm hearing it on the radio. It's like I have my own radio. The Beatles do mean a lot to me. I love this song and I love how it affects me emotionally when I hear it. It's not a great song. That's not the issue. This cover is crap. That's not the issue. It's a touching gift. I receive it as a gift from the Beatles and Yoko Ono. So I have to play this. I play it every day at least once. I love it. Another thing I played is this is from when I was ordering. When COVID hit, out of necessity, I for about a year I was doing mail order. I hate waiting for. That's the problem. I want to get the record. Frob, not too well known jazz rock album. I forget what country these guys are from. Oh, France. Okay, this is killer. There's only one letdown track on this. This is killer. That cover does not cut it. It's fusion, but with it's got a flavor. These tunes And the first track, Wassertropfen, I don't know what it means, but it's a killer opener. It's a killer. This is a great album, Frob. Last thing I played, and I played this all the way through because I had forgotten what. Ooh, man, I went through some music yesterday. Woo, whichever way you were going, you were wrong. Apparently, this was two brothers in England who had been making music for their own satisfaction, kind of like me, and then finally put it out in the 80s. This is lo-fi, but super charming and unique. And it's obvious that they're making this music for themselves because it starts off with kind of an interesting song. And the next thing is this sound experiment. It's just really cool. And it sounds like they're making it with, all analog instrument stuff that you can, this is really good. Woo. Really good. And the last thing I played, I've contacted Richard Barbieri to see if he wants to get on and talk again. His last solo album, because I watched a podcast with him, interview with him that I had missed from about a year or so ago, where he talks about Under a Spell and other stuff. And this is really good. Richard Barbieri is the secret sauce of Porcupine Tree. I think he's an excellent musician. Excellent musician. Excellent. So that's what I have for you today, folks. As I shared at the beginning of the video, I'm really pleased that some of you are really listening and receiving the work that I do. I am the new breed of the music industry, which is everyone can do it and everyone is doing it from their homes and using social media to connect to the world. And my music is as substantial as anything on the commercial market. All you have to do is listen. Okay? Love to everyone. Have a good day. Let me know how you're doing.